What's up, former party people? This is Jerry, you know, the one who actually combs his hair on the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Now, if you're finding value in listening to the AIFA podcast every week and you want to support sharing it with others, we invite you to become a sustaining monthly or per show contributor. Go to patreon.com/AIFA. It's super easy and it only takes a quick moment. It's about as easy as buying one of those pre-cooked space chickens from the grocery store, taking it outside, giving it a big old kiss, and kicking it into traffic. Why would you do that? Anyway, you do you, and I'll do me. Again, go to patreon.com/AIFA. And with that, people, let's start the show.
A is for Alcoholic is a program about recovery. My name is John, and I'm an alcoholic.
And my name is Jerry, and I'm an alcoholic.
Join us as we go through the alphabet of alcoholism, one letter at a time. Again, the A is for Alcoholic podcast. Thank you all for listening. Our presenting sponsor is the Green Camel Press. Green Camel Press is a design firm giving a, what do I like to say, Jerry? We have an old school aesthetic in a digital age. It's me and my partner, and we do labels, we do cartoons, we do comics, we do T-shirts, which we've talked about on the podcast. Jerry's a big fan of the T-shirts.
Fits good. Fits good.
Nice green, nice comfy. They're long. Yeah. They're long enough for a slim man like yourself these days.
Mm-hmm. And if I wasn't wearing pants, you couldn't see nothing. You know.
But if you want a T-shirt, you can go to greencamelpress.com. We also do digital doodles, which is a fun way for us to share our art. We do some stop-motion animation, and we are working on all kinds of other stuff. We've got a children's book in the works and lots of other things. So go check us out at greencamelpress.com.
Yeah. Our
other sponsor is our sibling podcast, which is called Gluten is Not Your Problem. Yeah. And just a disclaimer for those of you who might be sensitive, there is some discussions about alcohol, not necessarily in excess, but it does come up every once in a while. But it's a great podcast. It's totally funny. I mean, Jerry, you tell me. I'm on the thing. So
I like it. I love the conversational tone between you guys. It's great. I've known Walter for 1,000 years, though, so when I listen to it, I just feel like he's sitting in the room with me. As a matter of fact, I've disagreed with him a few times out loud in my own home. And I know he probably won't listen to this, but just, I've been cooking dinner and been like, well, Walter, I don't agree with you. I think a loaf might sound kind of tasty. It depends, I guess,
But not nearly as angry as you might have once been while you were drinking.
No, I was not going to fist fight him over, time travel. I don't want to fist fight him over time travel.
Did you listen to the latest episode of Gluten Is Not Your Problem?
The one about having friends over for dinner? No,
yeah.
But I imagine I'm assuming I make an appearance in it somehow. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm pretty self-centered, though.
You're working on it. You're doing all right.
I'm doing all right.
But yeah, Gluten is Not Your Problem with myself and our friend Walter, and we talk about Walter's interesting life of, we call him a culinary chameleon because he's worked in all kinds of restaurants and bars and eating establishments, and he's done all kinds of weird, interesting stuff.
He reminds me of like a Wes Anderson movie, but with Rumplemints. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
yeah.
A lot of his story, a lot of our stories, all of our stories, deal with excessive drinking, or
and Rumplemints
Rumplemints.
Sorry, that's a trigger.
No, but he does have a very eclectic life and lots of good stories. In this last episode, we talked about his unfortunate incarceration. Over some forgotten speeding tickets.
Oh, I don't remember any of
and
that.
The people he had to spend time in jail with for the day that he was there, or that however many hours, 8 or 9 hours. And we also talk about growing up on the farm and how sometimes the friends you make on the farm come to dinner in, various forms.
Oh, okay. When you first said friends, I thought it was just him and a border collie, like coming of age together, like...
No, we talk about how he had a pig on the farm and how the pig,
I think I remember this story.
How he learned that, your animal friends are what they're there for on the farm, and getting close to them and having to eat them for the first time. So we can talk a little bit about that.
It's just artisanal, dude. You know?
Yes.
Pen to table. People pay a lot of money for that in Portland.
So go check out Gluten Is Not Your Problem. You can get it on
Yep.
Apple Podcasts. You can get it on Spotify. Yeah, good stuff.
We gotta come up with a podcast network name if we're gonna start cranking these things out.
Right? Yeah.
We'll table that for the next meeting.
I also wanted to I also just wanted to say thank you to all the people who listen. We've got a really sweet email from a listener named Lauren that I just wanted to share real quick. And Lauren just says, "Thanks for reaching out." Or no, that's my reply. Let's here we go. John and Jerry, I just came across your podcast today, and I'm so glad I did. You guys are not only funny, but inspiring. I made the decision to get sober 2 months ago, and I could relate to you guys a lot. Keep on keeping on for the listeners like me. Thanks again, Lauren. So
Hell yeah.
That's always
you
cool.
Keep on keeping on too. 2 months is awesome.
2 months is huge.
It is. It is fucking enormous.
I feel like, we talk about this a lot, but the idea of the first 4 months are, way harder than the next 4 years.
Yeah. I have to agree with that.
Sobriety, I feel like, along with other healthy habits, whatever they might be, eating well or exercising, drinking enough water, these things gain momentum.
Yes.
And the more you do them, the better they feel, and the more you want to do them, and the better they feel, and so on and so forth. And it's kind of like they snowball in the right direction rather than maxing out
with
your
the
credit
wrong
cards
direction.
at the liquor store.
Or like getting super loaded by 2 p.m. at a pool party. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then deciding that that's the time to go out to a bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but you only have one flip-flop on.
I think I've been there. I've been to that
Yeah,
party.
we've both been there. I had your flip-flop. I threw it on the roof.
So yeah, thank you, Lauren, and thank you guys for everybody who's listening. We're also in the works of, I'm trying to find more people to interview, and I've reached out to a few people, and we're going to be doing some more interviews this spring and this summer.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
So lots of exciting, cool things for the podcast. And today we decided that we were going to do the letter N, and N is for no thanks, I've had enough.
Right.
And
or navigation.
Navigating the drinking, the world of drinking, the drinking world, the social world, going to parties, going to functions, not feeling the desire to cloister yourself in your room, which I would say that if you feel you have to, then do that. Don't put yourself at risk.
Right.
I mean, I did, my first few months were definitely on lockdown, just so that I would not. I mean, in those first few months, I ended up, I've told the story too, where I was out at a bar with friends, and the bartender slides this drink that he was working on, and my immediate reaction was to take a straw, put it in there, and taste it. And I was like, I'm trying to be sober over here, and I can't even, control myself.
Right. You just immediately turned into a drunk werewolf.
I mean, that's what it felt like, man. It did. It
fear,
really did.
Right? Yeah.
So, but when you get a little time under your belt and you feel like you want to be out in public, or, you have friends who still drink, whether they're super hardcore alcoholics or they're just social, people at work, that kind of stuff.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to see them, to talk to them, and sometimes there are certain situations, even family situations, where you have to be there.
Yeah.
And just, I think that, again, we've talked about this phrase, but the phrase, no thanks, I've had enough, everybody can relate to that, whether you've had enough that night, or that week, or that month.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or that year.
Yeah.
And you, the people you socialize with, a lot of them, I mean, you have friends that you've made in sobriety, but a lot of them are people that you hung out with while you were drinking, right?
Right, but a lot of them don't drink, though.
Anymore.
Do you know what I mean? Anymore. Or nah, I mean, most of the people I don't know, like, I only really hang out with my wife and daughter and then work people. But the work people I don't really hang out with outside of work. But and the people associated with my job, and some of those people drink. Yeah, some of those people drink a lot and they party, but it doesn't. It's got nothing to do with me. I mean, if there have been parties thrown in during my sobriety where the whole purpose of the party was to get as fucked up as they can, and they straight up are like, "This whole party is us getting fucking drunk. We're gonna get fucking wasted. Yeah, I'm gonna day drink all day," like it's some big revelation. And I mean, I'm not trying to judge anyone. I mean, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. Yeah, we did that, but then they invite me, and I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm going to go. And they're like, why? Why don't you want to go? And I'm like, because I don't want to be around a bunch of drunk motherfuckers. Like, that's not really, like, you people change when you get loaded. It's not as fun. Like, No, when you're a little warm, 2 or 3 drinks in, everybody's buzzed and laughing. I don't mind that. It's kind of fun because I get to be like, I'm not going to have a hangover tomorrow, and you guys are all funny. But it's when they start getting red and repeating themselves, and you know the stages of being drunk. It's just like everything is this giant revelation, and then a couple people keep sneaking off to the bathroom and coming back, and all of a sudden they're super peppy. Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, this to me is no longer fun because I feel like, I don't know, man. I don't know how. I just... it's not even like it makes me feel like I want to drink. It's just annoying, to be honest with you. People are unpredictable. Yeah.
It is.
So, I don't know. I navigate it pretty well. I also, like, want to stress that, like, being in recovery shouldn't make you a social pariah, you know? Like, you're not... There's nothing wrong with you.
No.
You know? There was something that was wrong happening to you, or some of your actions were wrong, and you've realized that, and now you're making steps to fix that. So, you know, whoever's trying to pull you down with them, that's literally what they're trying to do. They're just trying to pull you down in their misery, you know, and that's sad as shit, man.
Yeah. And
it's a bummer.
It's tough. There's a certain level of people want to, and you know what I've realized, and I learned this from my friend John, and we talked about it on one of our podcasts, my interview or my conversation with John S. If you go back and listen to that one, and he would have work people, and they would kind of joke with him, you know, they knew that he was in recovery, and that's right. Also something that I think is really important, depending on the delicateness of the situation, is to be upfront about it. I know that it helps me. I don't go around touting it like, oh, everybody, hello, and I just want to let you know that I'm sober.
It's not on your T-shirt.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't have my sober AF T-shirt. And if you have one, awesome. Like, I'm not.
That's rad.
Somebody
send me a former Blackout artist T-shirt. I think that shit's so damn funny. I wear a size medium to small. Anyway,
but he says he jokes with the guys at the office, and he's like, they're like, yeah, you want to come out for some Manhattan, some martinis, John? He's like, you know what? Maybe today's the day. You know, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh no, we were just kidding. He's like, "Yeah, you know what? Maybe today is the day. Maybe a little Clue and Cream." And so it's that thing where they're like, "I don't want to be responsible. I don't want to be responsible for you falling off the wagon." And so it kind of, I'm not saying that you should throw it back in people's faces, but if they're throwing it at yours, it's okay to be, if you're comfortable with it, to be a little more lighthearted and be a little, especially if you're secure in that.
Exactly, and I think the idea of looking at it with some humor will save you a lot of pain in the long run. Because you know, I mean, I was in situations where I caused a lot of pain, and I had a lot of pain happen to me, and I kind of have to look back on it and with humor, because I can't brood on it. I can't carry it around. It's just, they're all cautionary now. It's not baggage I want, you know. But yeah, if you can fucking laugh about that shit, you might as well.
It's I just, and again, I wouldn't say that I would encourage anybody to just do this if they weren't comfortable with it, because I know
be comfortable, right? Yeah.
2 months, 3 months into it, I certainly wasn't comfortable with that. I didn't even really know. People would ask me, so you're just gonna not drink forever? And it sounds super cliched, but my reaction was, oh no, just for today, or just for a little while, or I'm not sure if it's forever, but it's just being upfront and being clear about it. And now, like, I work in a restaurant, and there's a lot of wine that goes through there, and a lot of bottles are left over, and people often want to share if they come in and they have this really expensive bottle of wine, and you know, you're waiting on them, and they're like, you got to have a taste of this. This is the '09 cab from Oakville, something. Right. I'm like, I really can't. I'm really terribly sorry. I would love to. I would love to, but I can't. And I don't need to give them a reason. I just say, I can't drink at work. I don't, or I just say I don't drink at work. Yeah, it's my own personal rule, or or management. You just blame it on management. Says I'm not allowed to drink at work, and so but I always
old battle axe is on my ass again. Sorry,
Exactly.
I can't have your wine. It's been crushed by these grapes have been crushed by a baby's feet, though. Mm-hmm. And the wine cask is lined with pure velvet.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure? You're like, yeah.
And so what I tell them, I say I would love if you could pour me a taste. I'll be happy. I'll drink it after my shift. And so they're
Just
ecstatic.
give it to someone else, yeah.
And then I put it right in front of the manager, and I go, "Hey, boss, I got this, this 89 Margot,
Grease Von Hammer mortar. Try it out." Yeah.
So he's always excited when I bring some fancy wine, and I go, "Yeah, they wanted to have me a taste, and they wanted me to have a taste, and so I give it to you."
Right.
So that's those are some of the tactics I use. Where, of course, please pour me a glass. I would love to.
Go ahead.
I just don't usually tell people who are enjoying themselves at dinner. Go, I'd really love to, but I'm an alcoholic, and if I have a glass of wine, I'll probably end up destroying my life and somebody else's.
Right. Like, try to avoid that, I would say, dear listener. Like, I mean, unless that is needed. Like, if you're being pushed, you can be like, no, man, I don't want to fuck my life up or fuck your night up,
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, yeah, I don't really throw that out there too much. I mean, if people push, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm a fucking alcoholic, dude. I drank too much. You haven't heard? This is a small town. Nobody's told you the legend of Jerry Wagner eating a burrito on a curb, crying. Like, all the bartenders knew me. People now in my sobriety, and they become more comfortable in my recovery and my sobriety, they tell me now, like, dude, you drank a lot. Like, you were the person who drank the most out of everybody I knew. And I was like, why the fuck didn't you tell me that when I was drinking? And usually they're like, we did, and you'd get mad and, like, fucking storm out of the room. But it just surprises me because even now I think I have, like, some denial. Like, I'm like, oh, I wasn't that bad. Like, the little alcoholic voice comes up in my brain. He's like, you weren't that bad, buddy. And then someone out of the blue, usually, coincidentally, someone will talk to me about my drinking, and they're like, you drank more than anybody I knew. And you were a fucking mess, and I thought you'd never get sober. And then, I'm always surprised by that. Is that weird? Because here I'm on a podcast talking about how bad it used to be and how good it can be. Mm-hmm. I still get surprised by it sometimes.
I mean, that's why I love drinking with you, because you would push me and I would push you.
Right, exactly. You've said it to me, actually, and other people I've worked with have said it with me. And I always, like, clutch my chest like, who, me?
Who, me? Clutch my pearls and gasp?
Yeah, I never drank Four Locos, Four Locos, behind a fucking Valero gas station.
Did you ever have a Four Loco? I've never had one.
Yeah. Pre-ban, too, dog. Pre-ban.
I don't know what that means.
That means it was just like Sparks.
Oh, before the ban.
Before the caffeine ban, when it just became regular, because the caffeine was bad, but the malt liquor's okay. I visibly rolled my eyes at that one. I was just like, this is fucking ridiculous. But,
yeah, I drank Sparks.
Yeah.
That was one of the I think I remember that hangover. And
yeah, you called me and said, bring me 2 Sparks. And I went, cool, I get to drink with John. So I brought you 2 Sparks. And then you would, like, run out of liquor. And I would drink your fucking, whatever those were, those liqueurs that you had for mixing.
Oh.
You ordered all these fancy liqueurs from, like, France. And I would, like, they had a high alcohol content. So you wouldn't look, I'd take shots of, like, rosewater schnapps or I don't know what the fuck it was.
When I worked at this, like, craft cocktail bar, and I would buy... This was me putting it under the guise of, I don't know, being some sort of fancy bartender, but I would buy...
It's for research, Jerry.
I would get cases of liquor delivered from Europe that you couldn't get in the United States. Or whenever I'd go to a different city or a different state, I would always come back. I would ship like $500 worth of booze to myself. And so I'd have all this weird, crazy stuff. And Jerry's right, like taking a nip of rosewater liqueur or poppy seed liqueur or whatever it was.
Poppy seed, right. Just you'd order all this fancy shit, then your layabout friends would fucking drink it when they couldn't find any natty ice, like,
it's true.
But that's the delusion there as well. I mean, there's one thing to be a connoisseur of alcohol because let's not ignore the fact there's people out there in the world who just can drink without having any type of problem with it. You know, there's no problem with that. But I think the delusion of being like, I'm gonna order. Plus, I also feel a little mad that you had ordered like $500 worth of liquor. You must have hid it all in your room because I couldn't find it anywhere in the house.
It's possible. Or, I mean, there were times where I would drink it. Or I remember nights in that house, and everybody would come over, and we would just throw everything in a blender with some ice and call it good. You know, because it was no longer about recipes and getting things right. It was kind of just, let's dump this in here and dump this in here and drink as much as we possibly could. So
the pretense was gone. You know, the pretense was gone at one point.
Yes.
That's super concerning. That's why we are where we are now. You know? Because that pretense went out the window more and more often to the point where there was no pretense whatsoever.
And it didn't matter, and I didn't care, and I didn't want to. The deeper into it I got, the less I cared about, you know, rosewater liqueurs or all that business. It was no longer interesting to me. What was interesting was getting it in me as fast as humanly possible.
Yes. And then we compare it to now where it's there. I don't think there's much in my life that has that much urgency. Maybe caffeine a little bit, maybe nicotine a little bit with the vape stuff, and I do see myself kind of repeating similar patterns with shit like that, like with caffeine, like where I get to look forward to, I get to go home and have a Diet Coke, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking crush that Coke Zero, dude, you know? But they're light. It's not the same. It's like a lighter kind of feeling. I think that mechanism will always be inside me, you know?
I feel a lot less remorse, shame, and guilt if I eat, like, too many grapes than, you know, if I drink too much wine or whatever.
Just fucking with grapes, huh? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, you look at the calories and how many you get 4 cups of grapes, and it's like nothing.
Nothing.
And I can crush those, no pun intended. But so I think we make. It's about the addiction, or my addictive brain sets up those things, whether it be with food. Or it can be with food, it can be with sex, it can be with nicotine, it can be with caffeine. I know that I look forward to my coffee in the morning, and I get up and I'm trying to drink less and less of it, but I still have that feeling of I'm so fucking useless. I need a cup of coffee right now if I'm gonna shake this off.
Right. I get up at 6:30 every morning, and I like look forward to that first cup of coffee But you know, I don't know, man. But like you said, there's no shame. It's not like I go on a fucking Starbucks bender and come to the next day with pockets full of receipts and a crying wife. You know, like I didn't drink too much coffee and, like, you know, run someone over or crash my car.
No.
It's not as desperate and painful. You know, it's just these moments where you catch yourself going, oh, there's that part of my brain again that's working the way it works. That's what I see. And then I feel a little, not necessarily remorse, but I guess it's not, shame isn't the right word. It's more like interested. I'm like, wow, that's really fascinating that my brain really does work that way. So like I am, for all intent and purpose, like a true alcoholic. You know, there's all this talk all the time about true alcoholics, or are you a real alcoholic? I'm like, yeah, dude, because I can play Fallout 76 for 14 hours straight if I don't watch my shit. You know what I mean? Like, absolutely.
Yeah, am I a true alcoholic? I take the alcohol away and watch the pattern of behavior around the low-calorie ice cream.
Exactly. We had talked about this. And then before, you were talking about in early sobriety, you had this similar pattern with normal calorie ice cream. So you were like, reward system, you know? So, yeah, it's so fucking fascinating. We're just going to crack our own heads open and be like, our brains are fucking weird, man. Look at this weird thing.
I feel a little bit better because also I'm aware of it. Even if I'm deciding to go to follow through with that behavior over food or caffeine for me, I still feel better about it than. And I usually say to myself, well, I think about like when am I going to quit caffeine? Right. You know? I mean, I think eventually I probably will because
when you're ready, right? when it's your time to quit, only you can tell yourself.
Yeah. I just know that sometimes I feel like I drink too much coffee and I don't get the same reward. So then I think, well, what's the point?
Right. Those are your little tiny rock bottoms with caffeine. Maybe you're
Yeah.
drinking the wrong kind of coffee. There's the alcoholic
See,
in me.
right?
I'm telling you, you need to ramp that shit up. Go get some cold water. Cold water brew.
Somebody gave me a glass of that stuff, and I got a little
love it.
jittery, man. Like it was.
I drink it every morning because it doesn't hurt my stomach. Because I have, I got drunk guy guts. So I'm like, everything needs to be smooth and palatable now. Or yeah, or there's a rumble.
I did have, and getting back to our topic at hand, there was another situation I wanted
Coffee talk with
Coffee
John
talk.
and Jerry.
So yes, don't feel bad about the caffeine, the nicotine. I mean, what about you and the nicotine? How do you feel about that? Does it?
I have a weird relationship with it because I recently stepped my nicotine levels down to 0 with the vape. And so then the idea was to cut the vape out after a few weeks because I still, I'm trying to cushion myself and give myself time because I can't let it go because I'm hooked on nicotine, And then I noticed that I was running through way more liquid. Like I was buying way more vape. I hate using the word juice, but I was buying way more vape juice. I sound like such a cornball. But anyway, I was buying way more. I was burning through it more because I was puffing on it more because my body was saying, well, we need to get in more for more nicotine because there's none in it. So instead of quitting, I just went back up to where it was before. I went up to the 3 milliliters so I could buy less and save money.
So your body was thinking that if we do this action, that we'll get the drug, and then it wasn't getting the drug from the action.
It wasn't getting the drug, right.
Yeah.
So I'm I've been on this precipice, like this little outcropping for a while as far as stepping it down. And I feel like I keep telling myself, like, easy does it, first things first, when you're done with this, you'll be done with it. But I mean, I don't know. I think about quitting, but then I'm like, once again, it's like that addict's remorse, the addict's fear of like, well, what do I do then? What do I do then? When I keep... But everything in time, right? Like I approached my own relationship with food, and I confronted that, and so I'm like, okay, now that we're living a new lifestyle, we're figuring out how to like eat correctly and work out and use your body the way it's meant to be used, then maybe, not even maybe, then we'll step to the nicotine.
Yeah.
I probably keep caffeine around. I fucking love it, but
Me too.
and I might keep nicotine around too. Who knows? They say these vaporizers are safe AF. I don't know. I use AF. You see that? It was lit, fam jam.
Yeah, no, I just asked because I'm just curious, not because I want to make you feel.
I don't feel bad.
Okay.
I feel bad that I can't vape on the podcast, but that's all right.
If you,
I don't really feel bad about that.
No, I mean
I shouldn't. If I can't go like 45 minutes without hitting the vape, then yeah, I need to go for a walk or something.
That might be the case.
Right.
And this came up the other night. And I'm open with everybody at work about not drinking. And people have asked me. I didn't bring it up to anybody except my manager. And and then it kind of comes out and people ask like, "Hey, do you want a beer or something?" I'm like, "No, man." Like, oh, yeah. And at first it's like, "Oh, well, I got to drive, so I can't really drink anything." And then little by little it comes out. And so even the last time there were some bottles of wine at the end of the night. One of the girls I work with was like, she goes, "Oh, hey, do you want some of the..." "Oh, wait, you don't drink." And she was kind of disappointed, but at the same time, just like, whatever, man, like, you don't count. You're not important. Let me go find this other guy who, the other people who like to drink. And I didn't feel bad or I was just said, "Yeah, you guys, please, can I get you some glasses?" Like, that's, please enjoy, indulge, whatever. You can call it education, and there's a lot of joking around it too when people drink, especially when they're drinking. We're doing wine education,
right?
And I don't want to judge those people for that kind of stuff, but it also seems a little, I don't know, disingenuous, or it seems, I mean, it doesn't sit right with me that it's like should be such a funny thing that we should joke about. I think it just feels false, or it feels like
yeah. Well, disingenuous is a pretty good word for it, though. But I feel like there's an air of naughtiness around it, so it's like this going outside of social norms, right? Like, because it's so funny. I know we're kind of walking way around this end situation, but there's this social norm, right, that says you're allowed to drink. When we get together and we're social, we drink. When bad things happen, we drink. When good things happen, we drink. And we can drink to excess during these certain occasions. But if you drink to excess at any other time, then you suck, or like you're
Right.
not fitting in with the social norm. So the idea of being like, oh, we're doing wine education, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's like we're being naughty. We're
Yeah.
going outside of our social norms. It's so funny, the double-edged sword of our society, right? Like, we should drink for all these things, but if you drink for anything other than that, then you have a problem, which you probably do, But I guess the point is, like, we wag our finger at it and also totally encourage it at the same time. And that's always been such a weird dichotomy to me. And I do think the whole wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing is, I don't experience it as much as you, I think. Because I
Yeah.
work with tattooers, and I work around tattooers and barbers and stuff, and bartenders, kind of. Well, no, not as much bartenders, because you're a bartender. But I work with tattooers and barbers, and, like, if they want to drink, they just fucking drink. They're like pirates, Like,
Yes.
they don't give a shit. Like, there's no, like, it's a mommy night, like mommy's little. No, they're just like, I'm gonna get super fucked up and pee my pants. Like, that's my jam.
And that's
I'm like,
part of
"All right."
I think that's part of the, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's part of the
No.
culture and the allure and the interest in being
It's
a
that
tattooer.
rebel, right? Well, it used to be. I don't know what
being
it
a
is
modern
now,
day
but
barber.
right? And a modern day barber, because all the barbers look like tattooers, which is fine. That's cool. We got a good look. Thank
Yeah.
you very much for Thank you very much for looking like us. You guys are cool too. But anyway, I honestly, I that part of it doesn't bug me necessarily, but I'm also not around it as much. I feel like the Instagram-y kind of shit bugs
Yeah.
me a little bit. And me and my whole Sobember or whatever, the Sobertober or whatever, I don't know, Sober July, like that shit bothers me a little bit, but it doesn't take any time out of my day. I just look at it and go, if you're having enough of a problem that you got to take a short period of time off, why don't you try a longer period of time and see what happens?
Yeah.
But I'm just some dude on a podcast in his wife's office, so
You're doing good work, Jerry. People
Hey,
are-
I'm doing the Lord's work, motherfucker.
Yes. So I think that one, I don't think anybody, I don't feel bad to say no to anybody.
No,
There were,
you
I
shouldn't
think there
feel
was
bad.
some, I think there were some times in the very, very beginning, in the first few months, where it would have been, it could have been easy for me to succumb to some peer pressure, and I think that's why I knew myself well enough, or I
Yeah.
should say I knew my habit, I knew my addiction well enough
Right.
that I knew I had to kind of hide it out. I had to wait it out. I was just in this foxhole while, all the
yeah.
all the shit that was hitting the fan. And now, and even 6 months or a year into it, I kind of steered clear from certain places and things. But now I'm pretty comfortable in the fact that I don't drink.
Yeah.
And I sometimes get invitations and I tell people thank you. And oftentimes, it never comes to me having to say no necessarily. But I work with a lot of people who drink and a lot of people who are in the liquor business. And so there's always these like, yeah, you should really come to our tasting room. And I go, that sounds like a great idea. You should, one of these days,
Yeah.
one of these days. Yeah, that sounds great. We should get together one of these days. And there's only been a few occasions where people who make liquor for a living or people who sell it for a living have had a one-on-one conversation with me, and then I basically just come clean and say, I don't drink at all.
Yeah.
I think what you do is great, and you have a great product, and I'm really proud of it, and I've had it before, but I don't drink, and no, I do.
I know it just makes you laugh because you're like, I've had it before, quite a bit of it.
I have quite a bit of it. You remember that event we did? I took like 6 bottles home. I drank it all
Thank
in
you.
about 4 days.
In the dark.
In the dark, alone. So I and it's only happened a couple times, but I get straight up with them, and they're like, "Are you in the program?" And I'm like, yeah, and I don't really delve too much into it, or I don't judge them about what they do, because these are nice people making a good living on stuff that they love.
Right, exactly. We're not the moral compass here for anybody.
No.
Our only person we're moral compass for is ourselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I did it to this kid once at a poetry read, and I'd been sober like 3 or 4 months, and I needed to do things. Like, I thought in my early sobriety I could still go out and be social, like be around people and be social. I had to continue doing that because I thought, oh, well, I must be a social person because I was out at the bars every night after drinking like half a fifth at the house. I must have to be around people. That'll keep me nice and sober. So I'd go to these poetry slams in this coffee shop down here in Eugene.
Mm-hmm.
These poetry reads, and so it's 4 months sober, and I was out back still smoking cigarettes. I was smoking a cigarette with like this 22-year-old kid, and I was like probably 38, 39. I mean, well, I was 38 because I'd just gotten sober, and the kid had a flask, and he's like, "You want a sip?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good." He's like, "What, you don't drink?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." And he's young, so he's like, didn't catch because I was like, "No, I don't drink. And the kid was like, "Why?" And I was just like, because I'm a recovering alcoholic. Like, I'm a fucking flat out alcoholic. Like, I'm a bad drunk. And he's like, oh, and then backed up from me and avoided me the rest of the fucking night, And then later on in hindsight, I was like, God, I shouldn't have hit the kid with it that hard. I mean, I didn't have to lie, but I didn't have to be so dire about the fucking thing. But I was so early.
Maybe you did.
Still a raw wound. You know what I mean? Like, I was still walking wounded. I was still hurt from the idea that I couldn't do this thing anymore. It used to fuck me up, man. It used to fuck me up bad that I couldn't do it anymore. I'd get like upset. I'd get pissed off at people who did it. I'd resent the shit out of them because I was like, how come you still get to fucking do it and I can't?
Yeah.
And I had to sit down with someone I was working with, with my recovery with, and he had said, well, I was talking about somebody that I used to party with that continued to party. And I was like, how come he gets to drink and I don't? And I remember this person I was working with said, no, dude, he doesn't get to drink. He has to drink, and you don't have to drink anymore. And it was like this fucking, even that little play of language, that changing of term and the grammar, like, it was like a light lit up. I was like, you're fucking absolutely right, dude. Like,
I don't have to.
I don't have to, right? And so that's the idea. I mean, you could even bust that one out. That might be a little crazy, though, right? Next time you're at a barbecue with your girlfriend's parents, they're like, hey, you want a Hefeweizen? You're like, nah, I don't have to drink anymore. And then, everybody will look at you like you just farted in the room. Like you just stood up and farted on the table. Because I've experienced that, too, where I tell people I don't drink, and they look at me like I'm fucking, like I'm different. Which I guess I kind of am, like, whatever.
I think that sometimes, and this is my pure speculation on how I felt about people while I was drinking.
Yeah.
But I imagine that some people, when you tell them you don't drink, and you tell them that you're a recovering alcoholic, or you tell them that you're in a program, or you tell them you're not in a program, or that you just don't drink, I think that sometimes anymore. I think that sometimes it makes people, you then become a reflection of where that could lead, where that bad behavior could lead. Yes. And nobody wants to think about getting better and changing themselves. And when I should say that when I was in the throes of my active alcoholism, I did not want to think about getting better, changing myself, or being, growing as a person and a human being.
I'm there with you. This is why I'm so emotive over here, because that's exactly how I felt. And I had friends who had gotten sober who are still sober. You know what I mean? And I would drink. I'd see them at functions, and the same thing. It was like looking at a skull and pondering your own death. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like
Hamlet.
It was like Memento Mori shit. It was like some Hamlet shit. Like
tell me what Memento Mori is.
It's Latin. It's basically like remember death. Like remember your death. Like in everything you do, remember your mortality. It's basically the Latin. Yeah, the Romans or whoever it was just being like, hey, we want to be a killjoy over here, motherfucker. I think they would put them on items or gravestones or like little sigils and items that you carry for the people have departed and shit.
But I think that's sometimes what happens. That's the feeling I get from people when I tell them I don't drink in situations where I don't know them that well, or and they're just like, oh, okay, I need to get away from you. I don't want to catch what you got.
Poor sad man. You poor sad man.
I don't want to catch that sobriety.
Oh yeah, I don't want to catch that too. That is another great point. Like I don't want to be catching that shit from you. I'm over here coasting. I'm on a fucking a gravy train with biscuit wheels, man. I'm rolling, dude. Like I don't need you telling me or looking at me judging. There was also like I thought that people would judge me. And now that I'm on the other side of the coin, I realize that like I don't. The only time I'm going to judge you is if you spit while you're talking to me, telling me the same fucking thing 5 times, or telling me how proud you are of me, but you've already told me 5 times how proud you are of me. And I'm glad that you're proud of me. It makes my heart feel good that your drunk ass is proud of me, that I could figure it out. But you don't got to tell me 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also drunk, so you don't know that you've told me 5 times. You see me, that's your first thought. I'm proud of you, man. Did a good job.
And that just means it's time to leave the party, Jerry.
Right, exactly. I look at my wife and I'm like, yo, can we fucking bounce or what? Because it's like steal some of that cake and let's go.
Let's go. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to me, and it's just the psychology around it, and trying to navigate that in a way that is kind to people, because again, I don't want to, especially if somebody either A is just having a good time and they don't have a problem, mm-hmm. B maybe has a problem, isn't having a good time, and sees me as a reflection of where bad behaviors will ultimately lead. And you know, that being said, I feel like they've led me to a pretty awesome place because of those good decisions, those good behaviors that I decided to make. I couldn't have gotten there until I got to my rock bottom. But when you're not at your rock bottom, you don't see it as, it's still a manageable issue. It's still a manageable problem. So it's just being delicate with people as far as what I'm not promoting it, and I don't really care if whatever you do is you do, but I just can't do it.
Right.
But if you're going to push me, then maybe I'm going to get fucking dramatic about it.
Right.
You know?
Kind sir, good day. And then you flip this is my second Grand Marnier reference. Mm-hmm. You flip the table. It's maybe it's the gluten is not your problem. I liked hearing Walter say Grand Marnier the way he says it. Grand Marnier, s'il vous plaît.
S'il vous plaît.
But s'il vous plaît. But yeah, you're absolutely right.
There's
just I don't know, man. Just you're not a fucking alien because you don't drink anymore. You know? Like, we're not aliens because we don't drink. We've actually figured out the secret. You should come with us.
Get on the spaceship.
Get on the spaceship. It's just a sober spaceship full of what? Coffee and popcorn and ice cream.
Yes.
Right?
I need to go get
Hey,
some
popcorn's low calorie. Yeah, it's low calorie, man. A little nutritional yeast on it. Not bad, bro. Yeah, me too.
Coconut
I
oil.
fucks with popcorn.
Mm-hmm. There's a great, I may have mentioned this, there's a great podcast, Rich Roll Podcast, and his guest is Chris Davis, I believe, and the name of the podcast, if you Google it, is called Chris Davis Should Be Dead, I think is what is the name of it.
Yeah, I've listened to it. It's a good one. Yeah, that's the
a
one
really
you
good
recommended to me. Yeah, the guy's like a kind of a hard edge kind of dude. I like him.
He's a hard edge dude. He sounds like he smokes 2 packs a day, and but he tells his story. But the thing, like, I love the quote, I think they use it in the beginning of the episode where he says, he's like, yeah, man, I had to quit drinking. And somebody says, oh, that sounds really dramatic. He's like, you want to see dramatic? Take me out drinking, for a night,
exactly.
And I'll show you dramatic.
Dramatic, yeah.
And it's so absolutely true because, coming from where I come from, I just can't do it. I would think about if I were to go out tonight, I got some money in my pocket. I got the night off. Nobody's going to worry about me for a while, but I would just tear ass. I would make a mess of myself and everyone around me. And again, I would wake up hungover and sober and have to deal with the consequences of my actions.
Right.
So assuming that I made it home.
Right, exactly. And it'd be like you'd have to teach yourself that lesson all over again.
Mm-hmm. So, and I think about that a lot too. I put myself in those hypothetical situations to kind of remind myself.
I do something similar. Right. And I think about all the work I have to do the next day to deal with the fallout. If there is a next day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because there may not be. And that was another thing I didn't really consider while I was drinking, is that, like, this may be my last night alive. Who knows? Especially the shit I would get into sometimes with myself. But then I think, like, I do the same thing. I play the tape forward and back. That's funny. I play it back to what I remember doing that was awful, and I play it forward to what I'll have to do if I go back out again. All the shit I got to take care of, and the nursing the hangover, and the apologizing to everybody, and the people I let down. And I mean, even when it wouldn't be one night, you know what I mean? It always compounds into several nights, which compounds into this whole fucking trail I leave behind me, you know? And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to do that.
No.
It's a lot of work. So I'm like, no thanks, man. I'm good. I don't need to go there up to the fucking Highlands and do whatever they got, you know? I drive by the Highlands every day. It's a bar up here in Eugene, up in South Eugene. It's right in the same plaza as my grocery store. That's the only bar I got cut off in. We were talking earlier before the podcast. I said I'd never been 86 from anywhere, but I've been cut off, and that was one of the only bars I got cut. No, that was one of the only bars in the beginning I'd gotten cut off in.
Do you remember why?
Cut off in a few bars. I was being really loud, and I was hitting the tabletop machine, the one you're talking about playing at the bar you used to go to, the wagon wheel, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was probably playing that matching game where you got to find the difference between the two girls' titties or whatever. And they're like, this titty's got a bra, and this titty doesn't have a bra, and the lady's just suntanning splayed out like on this beach.
With
and
those
like,
poor graphics, those sort of 16-bit graphics.
And they're like, find the difference. And I couldn't find the difference, so I guess I hollered at the machine and fucking slapped the side of it. Like, you fucking beast or whatever. And
they told
the woman walked. Well, no, she didn't tell me to get out. She told me I couldn't drink anymore. She slid a big pint glass of water in front of me and said, "You're not allowed to drink anymore tonight." I was like, all right. And then I just went downtown, drank more. So, but, you know, they're liable for me. But, yeah, so anyway, I drive by that place every day. We're back here in the here and now. But, yeah, I drive by every day and I go to the grocery store because I don't grocery shop like a normal person. I grocery shop every day. But I always look at it and I don't know, man. Like, I have no idea why I just don't go out and buy all the shit once a week. Like, every night I'll hit the store to buy shit for dinner. It's usually, I can give excuses, but this isn't the Jerry Wagner grocery shopping podcast. But I drive by it and I see them out there under the awning smoking, you know, like, and it's raining and it's cold and they're out there smoking. And some of them are more lit up than others. And there's a lot of people, too. It's a handful of people out there. Some are hollering. Somebody's got their car pulled up with the stereo on and they're like dancing, hollering, but they just like we saw them at the bar at the ground level or whatever, or ground control, and you're like, no one looks happy. Like, no one looked happy. Yeah. So to me, I was like, nah, I'm gonna avoid that place. Nobody in there looks happy. I mean, the people are bummed out in Safeway too, but there's a couple happy. There's some children in there. They're having a blast. You know?
Sure. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't frequent any bars except the one I work at. And even then, I also, you know, another interesting reminder is getting to hear stories of people, because the service industry is fraught with alcoholism. And, you know, I don't ever assume that just because people go out and get drunk every night, or I hear about it, that they're alcoholics. And, you know, there's a lot of young people that I work with, and that's what
there's
you do
just
in
a lot
your
of
20s.
drunk motherfuckers in the service
There is
industry.
that too.
There's a ton of drunk motherfuckers. Yeah.
Yes. It's very easy to slip into it. And so I'm always reminded, and I just kind of shudder when I hear some of the stories about what happened the night before and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And again, I go back to that. I'm so glad I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Because that would be easy. Get off work. Let's go to the next bar. How much money did I make? I'm going to blow it all tonight. You know, if we're lucky, we'll get a cab through Taco Bell, which you don't even need anymore. They'll deliver it to your house with the whatever apps.
What?
Yeah, there's like DoorDash, Grubhub, fucking Road Butler, Taco Taxi, or whatever it is.
Taco Taxi. You made those two up, but those are great.
I made that last one up. But
hey, yo, it's Johnny with the Taco Taxi. Fuck all that Green Camel Press shit. You need to start Taco Taxi.
Taco Taxi it is. TacoTaxi.com. I should get that.
.com, yeah.
Get that website tonight if somebody else
get that domain name. We'll put that on a green T-shirt.
Taco
put that
Taxi.
on a
But it's true. You don't have to.
Yeah.
They'll deliver $100 worth of Taco Bell to your house.
That's so much Taco Bell, dude. You could get nice and full off at $10 at Taco Bell.
Yeah, and what would you do with the other 90 the next day?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just I don't know. And you'd probably eat that for 2 days. But Taco Bell's shelf life isn't very long. It's what, 45 minutes maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah, Taco Bell is only good for 45 minutes.
Oh, that's you got to get it down quick.
Turns into a pumpkin.
Ooh, something. It turns a little squanchy.
Yeah, squash.
So yeah, and it's easier when I'm open about it than when I'm not with people, and I always feel better being open. Finally, you know, especially when I started this new job, and it was at first, you know, I'm very quiet because I'm again not trying to tell it from the mountain, so to speak. But
Right.
now I don't have to say anything to anybody, and they all sit there and they drink their beers, and I pop a
Right.
club soda, and I go, okay, it's time for me to get out of here. You guys have a good night, and
Arrivederci.
enjoy your shift drinks, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
I experience it more around, now that I'm thinking of social situations, around my kids' friends' parents.
Mm-hmm.
So now that my daughter is in 3rd grade, you know, they're having play dates and hanging out, and the parents want to get to know us, so they invite us over for dinners or barbecues. And we don't go often. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, I've noticed that I don't know if my wife sends out like a writer beforehand or something, but they've kind of figured it out. It's really weird. I remember going to a dinner one night with this, it was a dinner party for someone who had sold a house, and it was my wife's friend's boyfriend who'd sold this house. And so I show up at this dinner party. It's a very nice place. It's like $800,000 house. It has a bar in it. You know, they're drinkers. They're not like crazy but they enjoy their booze, you know.
Yeah.
And like the minute I walked in, he didn't even offer me liquor. He was just like, "You want club soda or Coke?" Like he had figured it out. So someone had told him beforehand. But most people I encounter, like you know, even the ones who do, like, will show up at my daughter's birthday party afterwards, and they'll have like a bottle of wine after all the kids have left, and they're picking their kid up, and they'll give it to Megan or be like, "Hey, can we have a glass with you?" They never ask me like, "Yo, you want a glass too?" I don't ever remember being offered.
So you think your wife talks to
She
the lady,
must, right?
or that the wife of the other guy that's throwing the party, and then
I think it just comes up conversationally, maybe. I don't know, but I've noticed this pattern with the last few couple of friends where no one's ever really offered me like a drink of alcohol. They've always had soda or like club soda. It's weird, man. It's weird. Those first few friend hangouts too, those first few like kid friend hangouts were kind of like a little uncomfortable for me because I have to be social, and man, I'm not good at that. You know, especially sober. I'm like, oh no, what, I'm gonna do something stupid, man. You know. Like,
do you find that it gets easier the more you do it, or are you
Yes,
still...
absolutely. Now it's just, I mean, I'm still uncomfortable sometimes, but now I'm like, well, you know, I'm here with. Usually, if I'm doing anything social, I'm with Megan, so she's making me do it. You know, so I'm like, well, I'll let her do it all. But no, I find it a lot easier. Yeah, the more comfortable I get with it, the more it's like public speaking. Like you just end up slaying that beast. And I hate doing public speaking too. Who'd have thought, right?
I just find that I don't care anymore, or I don't care as much, because let's say I'm in a social situation with lots of people I don't know, and I don't drink, and everybody's drinking. And
right.
So just the whole not drinking aside, socializing with people, I just kind of, you know, whatever I say or however I talk, or if somebody asks me a question or whatever the conversation is, I just don't really care. I don't worry as much about whether or not I'm going to make a fool out of myself, or if I'm not going to be seen as okay or cool or whatever.
Right.
I just don't worry about it. And also,
the fuck does it matter?
What does it matter?
Yeah.
I mean,
like, you're not cool anymore, man.
I guess not. And if I'm not cool anymore, that is fine by me.
Yeah. You're like, I'm going to fucking wait till you get drunk, steal all your ice cream. Bounce, dude.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
One of those big, not 5-gallon tubs. That's too much ice cream. What's the big?
No, like the 2.5. I don't know. It's like
that.
the big blue bunny one. That's like some gross flavor. I've been seeing some new ice cream flavor. I don't want to turn this into an ice cream podcast, but I've been seeing some shit that's been catching my eye because I try to eat the local ice cream too. Where I'm like, peanut butter and jelly ice cream. What the fuck?
Wow.
It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in ice cream form. That's crazy.
Tell me about that. That sounds good.
I won't.
I will say too, be careful these days with the for anybody who's going to parties and trying not to drink with all this new wave of alcoholic club sodas.
Yeah, it's like alcoholic LaCroix.
Right?
LaCroix?
Yeah.
LaCroix, I call it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like alcoholic LaCroix. What's up with that? I don't know what it tastes like. I assume that it has no flavor, or has
My wife loves it, so it must not have flavor.
she likes it light.
She likes it real light.
But yeah, it's just I think being prepared, especially if you're going, you know, if I'm going to a function, I'll bring like a 6-pack of beer if I'm going to some place like that I want to be, you know, I want to be a part of, or if a lot of it is my girlfriend's friends, And
Right.
a lot of those people they drink some, and some of them don't at all, and so that's cool too. But I'll bring over like a 6-pack of beer, and then I'll also bring myself over like a La Croix or something like that, or a 6-pack of Pellegrino or something.
That's what I do.
And
every time, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
you.
just so I have something to drink.
Super excited. You and I we're simpatico right now. We're tandem, because like I'd get invited to parties for the shop, and I know that most of those guys actually just smoke weed now. But like I knew a few of them drink. 'Cause a couple of them get loaded, and I wouldn't bring beer, but I'd always show up with like a 12-pack of soda. And I would drink like 6 of those fucking Cokes too, because I'm like I am enjoying myself, banging in like 700 and some calories. But yeah, even now when I show up to their barbecues or parties, I just bring a bunch of Diet Cokes and like maybe a thing of like normal Cokes for someone else,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but
it's
I don't
navigating, man. We're navigating. We all got to navigate.
And it's okay to say no, and it's okay to do what you need to do for yourself. Because at the end of the night, I mean, I know that I'm the only one there who's going to keep me sober. I can't rely on... I mean, I rely on a lot of people for the community and the support and the love and all that shit. But at the end of the night, the end of the day, I have to make that choice for myself. And I'm going to feel so much better in the morning if I just say no thanks. I've had enough. And I love that phrase. And my sponsor told me that phrase because everybody gets it. And so it's worked wonders, especially if you're in a situation where you're going to see like live music. And where do they play live music at? Bars,
yeah.
And where do you run into strangers? And maybe you're sitting at the bar and getting your club soda with a squeeze of lime, and somebody wants to buy you a drink, or somebody, strangers come up, how you doing? And like, no thanks, I've had enough. Or I always tell people I'm driving, which 99% of the time is the truth anyway.
Word. You're the DD, bruh.
DD.
I got to take all these drunk women home.
So that's often the case anyway, too. But I feel like being upfront and honest with it to a certain extent, or even to the fullest extent. I mean, you don't have to get dark. You don't have to, talk about what led you there. I mean, if somebody asks me and if they want to, I'll just be like, I don't want to harsh your mellow, man. I don't want to bum out your good time.
You're not an open book. Huh? Are you an open book?
I mean, I would, but I also would just say this is not the place nor the time. And if people really want to hear about it, they're not going to come up to you at a fucking concert.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say too, if you're like, listen, if you really want to hear about it, I got this podcast.
Right? Here's my card.
Start with A, work your way up. Then you'll know.
Put it on shuffle. Get weird with it. I don't know.
Yeah, you should just get real weird with it. Spell words out. Spell out fart with it.
But it's just be upfront with it, be open with it, and be straight up with people. And I mean that's what I do most of the time. I remember a conversation I had. I was meeting my girlfriend. Some of her friends were in town, and we were meeting them, and they had been at a brewery or something. They were doing this beer tasting at this brewery that they're not from here, and they never get to taste it. And so they were really excited to go to this brewery, and it was their favorite beer and all this stuff. And so they came and they sat with us at dinner, and I think they ordered another beer and something about, I don't think she had said anything to them. And they said, "Oh, do you want something to drink?" And I said, "No, I just water's fine for me." And something about you don't drink. And I said, "No, I'm in recovery." And he was genuinely interested about it. And so we had a brief conversation about it. And I said, my whole thing was, I just had to stop. That's the short version, is I couldn't anymore. I've gone as far as I possibly could without falling off the edge. And even then I was hanging on by my fingernails,
Right.
So I find that people who care and people who are kind are often receptive to your truth, and people who aren't are quickly dispersed with by that same truth.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So it works both ways. So And again, sometimes you don't need to get that involved with people. I'm just driving. I thank you or no thank you. I've had enough.
Like I said, I gotta take all these drunk women home. Mm-hmm. Just yell that and run away.
That's that.
Fucking
too.
run for your life. Forrest Gump it right out of there. Just jet.
Thanks again for listening. Our music, as always, is by Neglect. You can find more of his stuff at neglect.bandcamp.com.
And you can find us on all social media platforms that matter. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can reach us at aisforalcoholic@gmail.com.
Talk to you later.
Yeah.